333. How like that? 33 pages is it?
Yeah,
so
it is 33
the
pages.
God of the Hebrews is the God of ancient Israel, because the Hebrew is Israel. So mother and father know well the completed measure of beyond, as there are wholeness that transcends as transparency. This is what we're talking about. This is the Hebrew, page 3. Hebrew is more of a remembering. So the body may acquire the lofty head of whole as beyond. This is what's really happening. So what we need to know is the law of the sea tells us, intimately shares with us the rite of passage. This is what's going on. We're all learning the rite of passage. And so if we could comprehend that Yeshua is in between the Yod-He and the Vav-He. It's the Sheen that's in between. And this is the Hebrew's journey. This is the language of beginning and end, and we're between it. We're between the pieces of that. And so we're going to kind of break that down. So, but if we go down here, it's a bit more, Carrie. So Hebrew is more of a frequency of name, a blueprint with schematics, an endeavor of enterprise to discover its return. Right? Dry dock builds, the voyage of beyond is as built. That's the experience of spiritual breath. I'm hoping we're tracking. I'm hoping this is okay with everyone. It's a lot of information. I comprehend that. But we're in such an amazing time right now. It's very important that we don't get caught into the snare of learning Hebrew. I mean, it'll do whatever it needs to do for you, but there's a greater intention if we can see it. So Hebrew is more of an essence of opportunity to become woven as spirit again. This is the potential. This is the opportunity, is that we would experience the infilling of ingathering, the inspiration of moment upon moment. Hebrew is one who clearly hears and sees as one has rendered oneself pure by the knowing of what, how, why, and who we are. As earth is the blueprint of how to build sacred through the provision of 1 through 7 surroundings. We can say that actually the macro of the world and the 7-day creation, when you break it down through the Hebrew language, those 7 days is the blueprint for you to be built as the risen man again. It's right in there. If you break down the letters, you can see it, that right from creation, from the breath in all of that, it's actually, when you take the letters apart forensically, you can see that 7, defined as sacred, because that's what 7 means in Hebrew, you are completely built, restoring sacred back in, one day at a time for the fullness of the week, and then inculcatively do it again until it's fully resolved as peace. Okay? So 1 through 7, we do this through our surroundings, as the world holds all the information that is to be in turn constructed and or formed to fulfill rest's shalom's intention. Hebrew is a macro micro environment or ecosystem that is to be built, maintained, and supported. It is a journey from partial to whole, war to peace, affliction to resolve, disgrace to grace, question to answer, ill to well, and what we have deemed evil to good.
That's really good, Ken. That's really good.
So let's define ecosystem so we know what it is. So eco, the branch of science, now we're talking consciousness, the branch of science living within their environments, a house, a dwelling, a place of habitation, a clan, the study of. This is the study of you. You are an ecosystem in the micro. The macro is showing you, I will show you that I'm it. Please respect me. I'm sacred as you are sacred. I am the macro and you are the micro. Let's experience together.
Well, that you just basically, together we walk, come, pass.
This is what Hebrew means. It means compass. To come to pass. Yes, absolutely. It's the word for compass. So here's the word for Ibri, Hebrew, connected to its first occurrences. And Abraham, the Hebrew, now he was living, now he dwelt. You can see that the only difference between Abraham and the Ibri is one is the revelation of, and one is the establishment as the light. Abraham, already as the teacher, is one built, fully clear, fully resolved, as circumnavigated. That's who he was right there.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that the Lamed is added in front of it,
right,
because his name, there's Avram, which this means, Avram means exalted father.
This is the exalted father.
That has crossed over.
It's crossed over. That's Ibri. That's the word for Hebrew right there. So Abram, so we can connect Abraham to Ibri, the Hebrew, through the revelation. They're both the same. They're the essence of frequency to say this is that, therefore, right?
Well, and technically,
Yep.
it's the mother and the father
It
are
is.
both here
It
because
is.
you have Aleph Mem, which is mother, and then you have father, which is Aleph Bet, and then you have the room to exalt. So mother and father will exalt you.
Right. Absolutely.
So you can see how really the patriarchy would say the exalted father when mother is right there.
Right.
And she's the accompaniment, she encompasses on the outside
That's
because it's Aleph Men bar.
That's right. Mother tells us how to crush the medicine, to take the medicine. Father says, no, you're now resonating to its intention. Therefore, there I am. They mirror one another and say, because of this, I am together.
Yeah, because there's a part of the creation through mother, the cosmic womb.
Yep.
Is what elevates us.
Right.
It's so amazing.
So let's go down because
Okay. I know I needed to be quiet, but I couldn't.
So let's look at this
So
bar. You've
beautiful.
highlighted the bar. So
I did,
let's talk about that bar that you just highlighted, the clear water versus
Oh,
Catacombs.
look at that.
So this is bar. So this is in Hebrew, this would now be to purify, cleanse, pure. And it means really how you, because it's directly connected to the field, which means your cleansing is directly going to connect to who you are in your environment, who you are as circumnavigating, who you are, what surrounds you is going to be your field. This hopefully will render clear for you so you can be resolved to know what is beyond the Hebrew.
Right, because the only thing that's missing from here is the Ein.
Right.
The Ein is giving you the ability to see and know the purpose of this, of why we are to be pure and innocent and washed clean.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, so now let's see what we're building here. So let's go to the next file. And then I could hopefully, actually, are you still in the same file?
Yeah, I haven't gone anywhere.
Can you drop it down, please, to deposition? It's just below this. The Lamed Aleph to the Aleph Lamed, which is not but God, and they're talking about the deposition to the position. This whole language, like the world, is that we are influenced by something that produces something, and we can simply say it and see it this way, that hopefully it assists. Right there. There we go. So the study of influence, or the subtlety of influence, is gently measured out as its full cost is weighty. And so there's a subtlety to this that can't be given in its full measure because it's too weighty. You're going to miss it. We're not going to grasp it.
Or it'll just blow the circuitry so much that there is no potentiality left because it's been obliterated.
This is the glitch in the mainframe, is that when we get too lofty and we miss the subtlety and the influence of just the gentle measure. To receive the gentle is to know how to generously give. And so in this language, you can actually see the process of thought, that influence produces thought. Thought produces longing. Longing creates desire. Desire is looking for the commitment of action to fulfill its intention. That's the influence. This is now fulfilled. So now I could draw this in a circle. The influence is directly connected to the intention. And this is what we do, is that what the world knows this well, that it will give us a sight, a smell, a touch, a feel, something that we connect to that would create a thought process. Now I'm longing for that desire for popcorn. I smell it, now I want it. And so my longing now is in my head. And if I take it captive, I can dismiss it. But if I drop it into my heart, I've now created a longing that wants the desire to be fulfilled to the commitment of action, right? Hebrew's the same way. And then we fulfill it, right? Its intention, and now by the commitment of action. That's what this language is doing, and the world knows this as well, and they use that as a tool to draw us into the place of distraction or discomfort. Because what we're building is the fortification of resolve to know what it is, because comfort means to come around and fortify, come and fortify. And so they want to keep us in the place that our walls are down, that we haven't connected and built Ga or Gan or Paradis. It means to fully navigate yourself, to know that you are the garden.
Garden enclosure.
And you've built the enclosure, you've encompassed yourself through the influence to become the intention fulfilled. You're now navigated and you've built the wall called environment around you. And there you are, Ga, the garden. So let's look at disposition really quick. So now we have of mind, right?
So this is what we were talking before, to put into order, into range, as the deposition is connected to disposition.
Right. So this is the tendency of mind, aptitude, inclination, arrangement, order, mood, state of mind, right? It's a frame of mind and attitude, and then position. It's even with a position of planet, right?
Right, but I love the inclination.
Inclination.
We've used that many times, declination and inclination.
If we know the journey, if we know that there's a circle that has to be built, then we should be well versed in the language of radius. That the involute of art means from center, and doesn't matter where I am in the circle, all points touch. That's the locus point. And so from that, I'm now measured as a circle. Now I'm determining diameter as a dimension. I'm twin radiuses, now centered, and I'm now completed. And hopefully we're gonna get to this.
Yeah, I was putting my head down because I skipped ahead.
Oh, fine.
Right here.
Yes, deposition means dethronement.
As a noun, but isn't that interesting that you give your deposition and it means a dethronement, a putting down of your dignity.
So let's look at this from a science experiment. So let's look at this from the position of, because the word.
I'm saying when you have to be brought into the natural court of law, the deposition is to dethrone you.
Yes, but let's look at,
that's very interesting.
Yes, they're asking you for your eyewitness testimony. So when you go into the court of law, that no one will be surprised by your testimony as a witness when you take the stand. This is all spiritual language.
This is connecting to the validation and the invalidation that you talk about all the time.
Right.
Right. So that's why I'm like dot connecting.
Mother teaches you through a witness and a deposition how to validate yourself. When you know that through the process of validation and you've given your statement as a witness, and now you're seated at the right hand of Father, he fully invalidates you. There's no longer a need for you to validate yourself. I now call you beyond. You're invalidated, and now you're the way of the silent song. You've compressed.
So in other words, it is finished.
You are finished. Absolutely. So we can look at this word, that deposition. So yes, but let's look at it from the science experiment. Let me see where it is in the Hebrew, page 11.
We got about 5 more minutes.
Okay. So, well, we're not going to get to the thalamus. I apologize. It's impossible.
There's just laying a lot of foundation here.
Right. So let's look at this word, though. So let's just keep on going down here. So the lawsuit is a place of discovery, of right conduct. This is what deposition is, to know the way of right conduct. So let's just kind of go through this. I need to get to the science experiment at least. So enterprise is the way of deposition, and connected to before, as the Hebrew is before. You are now a science experiment called enterprise, and you're going to move into the discovery. Now you're in the place of now moving from discovery to unveil yourself, to reveal yourself as the deposition, right? Now you're fulfilling the position. This position is now an act of placing, affirmation, to settle, to dwell at home. Well, Abraham just stated what he was as he built his home as being a Hebrew.
Right.
So now.
As one who's crossed over.
Right.
And beyond.
Right. So now let's look at this language. So drop down, let's go to the science part of it, please. Let's see why deposition. Why do I use these words connected? Because we know that consciousness means to come around and know yourself through science. Well, here you go. Here's some science.
Because that means to know well.
To know well.
Science means to know well.
So yeah, consciousness roots out at the prefix goes to come, which means to come around, so you would meet yourself face to face. You're the science experiment called exploration. You are now called enterprise, and in that self-discovery will reveal you are the science project. I now call you consciousness, when you knit yourself back together as one.
No longer separated.
So let's look at this word right here, deposition. This is science. So from solid to plasma, this is now the deposition. The dethronement is we willingly lowered our head to come down for the experience, because we already were in the place of ionization to plasma, which is the law of light.
Trying to move it so they can see it a little bit.
So we need to connect the science experiment so we know, because this is all spirit language here. So the deposition is now in the place of matter. Matter, we can take away where the freezing and the melting the liquid into condensation of vapor. We can move that part aside. Let's just look at the solid gas plasma. And so now we have sublimination. So we go from deposition, which is where we're being dethroned. We had our head locked.
So in other words, we got slowed down into matter.
We
light.
dethroned ourselves by the process of forgetting, because we have the whole process of being healed is Zakaria, to remember the way of Yah. It's the power, means, and direction that tells you you're gonna have to inhale to expand, to know the Vav-He, and you're going to be the sheen, the fire, and in that kindling fire of inculcation and that piercing, it will ignite and kindle what's in your blood. That's the sheen of Yeshua. It's the kindling of the walk of fire through the desert wilderness that will burn your feet, but make no mistake, it will raise your head and you will be covered in the shade of peace.
Yeah.
So this language for deposition, we have deposition coming down at dethronement. We willingly lowered our head, which means we willingly ate of something that caused us, and it's directly connected to, we can talk about that, we're not going to get to it, but stay right there for right now. So now we're into the word for sublimination, which means the threshold. Sublimination means you're going to have to go to the threshold. That's what it means in etymology. The threshold, as you know, through the covenant, you're going to have to enter in now. Enter into what?
Interesting, because that's the covenant of blood. So literally entering into the deposition, to the dethroned position where we have blood within us, is actually crossing over.
So the forgetting, the deposition is your mind has been compromised, so you wouldn't, because we negate the experience. If we know why we're here, we wouldn't enjoy the experience of ingathering.
Right.
So we're ingathering, processing thought upon thought, moment upon moment of being present, past, future, right? In the moment.
Simultaneously.
So we're gathering our thoughts again.
Omnipresent.
Through the influence of the language to fulfill its intention. That's called remembering. When you're no longer remembered, you're called member. I now call you body. When the body stands, I can now place the head back on the shoulders.
So in other words, this is what you were talking about. This whole thing is explaining Christ consciousness.
This is Christ consciousness. And so now we're in the stance of gas, which is the vapor, which when you're in that stance, this language is actually the language of cloud in Hebrew. And it says that there will be a cloud of witnesses. It means a vapor. It's the same word.
Yeah.
We're not going to get to it. But that is the language of transmutation, as a Hebrew is beyond. So he is transmuted from one state to another.
Right. From glory to glory.
So the process of navigating back to light is through deposition to sublimination to ionization back to plasma. And we could get into that later on. But this is now, who is back on your throne? Is it fear or is it chaos? Or have you found peace? Because that is the language of the amygdala. And it's the language of the thalamus, which thalamus means the bridal chamber. And it's a song within you when you've knitted it one. And so now the head is rightly placed because you processed and navigated the heart well. The depth within you is in the well of your heart. When you do that, you now reign supreme as healing yourself as whole, as completed. You are now back. And this is the law of exchange, where you are allowed to navigate between light and matter at light speed.
So another like phasing in and phasing out.
We just have to remove the wall.
Right. I think that's a good place to stop. That's been an hour and a half.
Okay.
Just FYI, because I know where we've left off.
So
next time.
Can you just drop one word to connect transcend? Because this is
Sure.
Transcendence.
Right.
Because this is the definition of this.
Let me.
And so transcendence.
I just got to get it back out here. There we go.
Transcendence is the same word for across and beyond, which is Hebrew.
Which is Hebrew. Yeah.
And then drop down a bit further, and we can end with this. That we need to know this because this is directly connected to the first, the pre, and this means before the first, the chief, which is the word for better sheep. And these are the chieftains, the princes again, the head person. The head is now restored, and you're now past, present, and future
as omnipresent. This is actually, we've heard this phrase before, or many of us have. Sar, Shalom, the Prince of Peace.
Yes.
This is the fiery heads that walk in shalom.
Let me take you down, and I'll stop right here. I promise I will stop right here. There's before.
Kadam. Yep. Adam Kadmon.
Adam Kadmon.
compressed light within the blood.
Your blood is now fully compressed. I call you light. You've arisen back to the process of journey. I call you resolved. I call you whole. I call you healed. I call you well done. You know the way of war well. You have rendered confusion clear to be called the way of peace. Shalom.
And that is connected to in front or before someone, which now shows Kadmon revealed. The revealing of Kadmon.
The revealing of
The rising of the sun in the east.